raise 100. See 3-fold. 4-fold. See 5-fold.
Rightio. Welcome everybody. $5,000 Six Max Superstar Showdown. Yeah. Of course, ignored the ticket down the bottom. It is day 2 and it is our final table. Of course, Six Max fans will get to a final table of 7 if you're just tuning in, or
you're going to go with it
to watch some family and friends. It is a final table of 7, which we got down to last night.
I didn't see what he did.
Quite short. Renji Mao, who has been a feature of a lot of our coverage during the week, has pretty insurmountable chip lead there and pretty incredible. Jordan Westmoreland has been able to draw seat 5 in basically every time he's been on the final table or the feature table, and it's been a pleasure to be able to commentate him and the undeniable Dipper with us as well. So myself, Braden Jinks, and Craig Abernathy will be taking you through the action. Craig, sorry to let you know, mate, you're only going to be in here for about 10 or 20 minutes, as I have got an offer that I can't refuse. We'll be joined for the next hour by Sozia, who was really keen to give up her time and wouldn't be going anywhere. I think really Sozia's been a feature of our coverage for basically the entirety of the week, and it's been a little unlucky on our feature table, so she's more than happy to give up her time, and we'll get Sozia in for the next hour from about 2 o'clock onwards. So don't go anywhere for that, as I've gone all through our introductions, Craig, and I didn't even mention the great one, Joe Hasham, at our final table here as well.
Yeah, great to see Joe Hasham into the final table. Just go through the payouts. They're playing for $92,000 up top. 60,500 for second, third 41,000, fourth 29,000, 23,000 for fifth, 18,000 for sixth, and 14,500 for seventh. So good to be joining you just for even a short stint this morning. Obviously, Sosya's a very well qualified commentator in here. She has me by about 15x on Hand and Mob. 3 million all-time money list earner for New Zealand. So her insights were really good.
I had people coming up to me last night about, obviously I played the 750 because I had a ticket in it, and if I min cashed I would have taken over you. I had people in the casino last night that I've never met in my life asking, "Oh, did you get past Craig's Hand and Mob?" So we've got people watching. It's a good. I had a lot of people come up to the casino last night, which is quite nice.
Well, it won't stay that way for long, but yeah, no. Also good to see Dan Mayo on the table as well. He commentated with you a couple of days ago, I believe.
No,
or with Harvey.
He was with Harvey. Yep.
Yeah.
Of course, don't forget.
Okay. Oh, you guys bring in your chips.
I'm apologising to anyone that's been with us for the majority of the week, because I've mentioned it 5 or 6 times, but Dan Mayo, of course. And no, Craig, I'm not taking the PIIS. Dan Mayo is one of the best Excel spreadsheet players in the world. Is that what I call it?
Yeah, well, he has represented Australia in Las Vegas, in fact.
In the spreadsheet games.
Yeah, something like that. I think it's called the Microsoft Excel World Championships, and there was another one, the Finance Modelling World Championships. So,
goodness gracious.
If you need any help with Excel, what I do is I jump on YouTube and take a look at the videos, and he has about 20 or 30 on there. So, yeah.
Oh, he has a YouTube channel and everything.
I'm not sure if it's his YouTube channel, but he's certainly on there. Certainly around, a lot of them around cards too. So if you're trying to run sims on any particular hands, pre-GTO Wizards and all those fancy apps, Dan, I believe, used to do this sort of stuff in Excel, which is quite amazing.
Given how complex Microsoft Excel is, can you imagine how good Dan Mayo must be to represent Australia at something like this? As Dan's going to stab here, and Dipper's got this one basically locked up. As soon as I say that, of course he turns a gutter. Dipper looking to start getting some chips in here with the best hand. Just seen Dan fire again on the turn, picking up that gutter, but decides with the give up versus Dipper there, and we've got a really stacked final table. Of course, Nelson Dong, who featured heavily on our coverage last night. Now, Nelson, I mean, not sure if we're going to have any more reels going out for the rest of the day, but it was a pretty extraordinary hand where Nelson flopped top pair with Queen 10. Matthew Wakeman turning the straight and Nelson filling up on the river. Nothing anyone could have done there, and that propelled Nelson well over 1 million chips, and it appears as if off stream, once we stopped coverage, he's really been able to spin that up. An effort this week from Jordan Westmoreland, being on the final table of the 5K, the
7.5,
and the 15K.
Yeah. Yep.
Incredible effort. Of course, Jordan getting married to his lovely wife in Mexico in 2 months' time. So this might be the last we see of him in Australia.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate all the international guests coming out for this series. The series has actually been absolutely packed throughout the whole week with some superstars, and this is, of course, I guess the Lord's Poker Tour 5K Superstar Showdown.
3 stacks of
As we wrap up the series today,
a bit, right? Yeah.
we will be taking you to the end of this final table, of course, and then we're not sure what time it will be. We do plan to show the APT main event after this one, so...
We are going to keep the situation fluid, though. I would dare say if, you know, Joe Hasham's three-handed in the six-max, I'm not sure Tony will want us to take this off the stream, but, I mean, I don't see why we would anyway with players of this calibre left to bring you for the rest of the day as Nelson's Jack-9 improves here on the turn. Not that it needed to.
Yeah, I think there are around 20 effective on average, 20 people on average on this FT. I think we will see, you know, we never know with poker, obviously, but that's the plan. But yeah, as we said, we can't lock that in. But just we'll let you know that there are some fantastic tables out there. 3 tables left in the main event. Some big names in that main event that potentially will make that final table. Hamish Crawshaw, Jared Thatcher, Lachlan Trilly, Malcolm Trainer.
Some big names out there.
Yeah, Adrian Sportelli, Tom Maguire. Lucho Vargas. So all of these guys still in the main event, and we wish them all the best. We may see them later on.
All right, dealers in the beast. If you've got your commensurate shuffle, blinds are up. 200, 400 with a 400, a big blind ante. Dealers in the beast. If you've got your commensurate shuffle, blinds up. 200, 400 with a 400, a big blind ante.
I don't see any of those names left at the final table. 26 left.
Big call in.
Ivan Zhang,
7 folds, hit 8 fold.
Nose, Aviators. Here at
2
the
folds, hit 3
final
fold.
table is down at ace 10. Going to be looked up very quickly here by Jordan Westmoreland.
Oh.
Apologies, I was off then. It's probably a good idea I was off given the joke I just made.
Why
Out
did
right,
it hold?
Zhang's all in.
Well, we
And
have an all in the call in the 5K Superstar Showdown.
of course, if you are joining us, watching your family and friends, that equity there, of course, King Queen does beat ace 10 more than 33% of the time. We just do take into account those folded cards. So
Jordan's
I assume
King
a
Queen.
king and a queen has been folded, which will
Clock
mean,
is 6, 2,
yeah, so one
7.
king and one queen being folded there. And Ivan Zhang's going to be in pretty good shape to get back up to 4 big blinds.
Falling for a 2-side. It's
Oh,
an ace.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And the river is a 10.
What is that? 102? 102.
So
I was going to say, I want the page up.
See that double up from
keeps
Ivan?
the table more lively.
Yeah.
That's true. More entertaining.
Big Jinxie's just gone to grab Cecia. So she'll be with us momentarily. And I just wanted to, give a shout out and mention that Dan Mayo, he obviously was at the World Series this year, got a 2nd place. Just narrowly missed a bracelet. So I'll leave you here with it for now, and I will talk to you all later.
No.
All right, players in the main event, this is your 1-minute call. Players in the main event, this is your 1-minute call.
All in. 6 all in.
We are returning to 7,000, 14,000 with the big line
2 folds, hit 3 fold.
in the main event. Dealers shuffle up and deal.
2 4 fold. Shows ace queen.
Sorry about that, just a little bit of a break there, but as we'll see what Ivan does here with the Jack 2-0 under the gun for 4.
Well, high, very
The
high.
third time always aces. What's wrong with you?
Very close to aces. But looks different. 7 or 8.
raise 125. 2-8 fold. To 2 fold.
All right, so I did mention to all the viewers that Craig would be joining us for a short time. Very, very, very lucky to have a special guest in here for the next hour of commentary, and you would have
350.
noticed her from basically
2-4 fold. 2-5 fold.
every final table or stream we've had throughout the weeks, featured heavily, and we're really glad you've been able to give up your time, Sozia. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, this is a great final table and lots of familiar faces. Speaking of final tables, Jordan Westmoreland.
Incredible.
Incredible.
It's
I
actually-
think every single final table.
It's pretty insane, and of course second in the opening, but has final table literally everything else. And
Absolutely. He's had an amazing series.
we try and get our players to fill out our questionnaires and get a little bit of information for them on stream. And he mentioned to us that he's getting married in 2 months in Mexico.
Oh yes, he did mention that. Yes, he said he was happy to have grown up in his own words. And so very happy for him. Yeah.
Rare for a poker player, do you think?
Oh, there's always. I think poker players will always have the poker in them. But yeah, very happy for him. He sounds very settled, west coast of US. So yeah.
How have you found the week personally for yourself? You have featured quite often on our feature table, but from your own perspective, how have you found the week personally?
I really enjoyed being here. This is actually sort of the first real poker series in Australia I've played in about 2 years, and so it's been really fun. Catching up with everyone, the atmosphere is really good. Yeah, table talk is great. Everyone's really friendly. So yeah, I've had a really good couple of weeks. Gold Coast before the start.
You went to WPT?
That's right. Yeah, there's just the tail end of WPT, and then it's my first time playing any poker in Brisbane, so it's been great.
Now, we did, it started as a bit of a joke during the week, but with Thomas Ward and Hamish Crawshaw being very close to each other in the all-time money earnings for New Zealand, it was pretty rare to have 3 of the 4 all-time money earnings from one country in the same room at the same time. Of course, you're number 1 for New Zealand. A little bit of a it's a little bit of a default, but if you go and look at New Zealand, you are right at the top. And you and Thomas Ward obviously out here for the State of Origin as well. How did you find the vibe of the room at the start of the week through the State of Origin?
Oh, that's a really fun format. Yeah, so Hamish asked me, and I had committed to come, but previous to leaving New Zealand, I hadn't really thought too much about it. But as soon as I got to the Gold Coast, that was just the anticipation for the State of Origin was just coming up all the time, and so yeah, it was actually super exciting. Yeah, didn't really have the outcome we wanted, but the dream was actually kind of alive. Right? As tournament players, you always hold on to even that sort of 2% possibility. But no, it was a great event, and yeah, it's always great to be able to cheer other people on together with the 2 rounds. It was awesome.
Very rare in something like poker, which is mostly a pretty individualistic pursuit, to be able to have a team and.
Yeah, correct.
It's pretty rare you can everyone on the table anti-sweating one player and hoping the card. There's something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I think generally outside of the tag team format, which is generally just a team of 2. So yeah, it was my first time playing in a multi-person team.
We're sending this in here for Ivan.
Ivan's got a real decision here. So Rinzi Mal is actually a very accomplished tournament poker player. And Ivan and Rinji obviously know each other pretty well. Rinji actually goes by the name Ricky. So yeah, Ivan and Ricky know each other pretty well. Ivan will know that as the chip leader, Ricky will be opening fairly wide. And so I think Ivan really does need to send it in here on his blind stack. He knows he's going to be called most of the time.
No other short stacks around us really incentivized to try and double up.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things I love about tournament poker is that, especially at this stage of tournaments, like lots of people actually think about ICM quite differently, and so you never. Oh my goodness! Wow! So he decides to lay it down. I'm pretty surprised by that. But yeah, so like I said, everyone does think about ICM pretty differently. Wait, do we really have a defend with 7 deuce? Okay.
Have you played a lot with Dan?
So my statement stands that we have quite different approaches to ICM, and yeah. But what I will say is that I did have a quick look at the payout structure before sitting down, and it does look. I didn't crunch the numbers exactly, but it does look pretty top heavy. So you are actually incentivized to try and take spots and kind of go for it. And I understand Dan's perspective where, he's kind of middling stack, he is under quite a bit of pressure. But this is a tournament structure and also short-handed, so you do need to try and take spots. And if he gets a double, so if somehow, like for example, that hand played out and he doubles through Ricky, I think he basically becomes chip leader. So that kind of I'm sure those sorts of things will be in his consideration as well.
Can't wait for your insight into the game, Sozio, over the next hour. And Joe picks up the pocket queens. I'm starting to feel like it's a little unfair. We spoke about your exploits at length whilst you're on the feature table, of course. You featured twice as the VIP in the what exactly do you call that tournament? As the VIP when you get to pick a partner for the high roller.
You mean the Triton Invitational?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I think I've played. I can't remember. I think I've played like maybe 3 or 4 of them, something.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
That's what I'm saying. You're playing as the VIP for already in the last 10 minutes. I think that's quite unfair on the rest of the VIPs. I feel like you should be one of the. I feel like you should be one of the players and not the VIPs.
No, absolutely not. I mean, those Triton events. Certainly, like the caliber of the players that turn out and the spots that you get put in. So, I don't actually get to play very much poker, in the scheme of things. And, one goes to Triton partly because they always put on, like, really fantastic events as far as player experience is concerned. And then partly, it is poker's one of those few sports, if I can call it that, where it is actually just open to everyone to really sort of like, take on the best in the world and learn a few things in the process,
The most engagement we actually had throughout the week was when I mistakenly called poker a sport, and I think everyone had their ideas in the chat of. We ended up talking about the Olympics and if it should have been there and all the rest of it. So I like to call it a sport, but it's definitely. Could you think of another sport where you could sit down with the best? Like obviously, if we're going to play golf or tennis at any level or anything else, chess, it's just impossible.
Right. Let's just call it a competitive
pursuit or
competitive pursuit. Yeah.
Will you be flicking in the next Triton Invitational coming up, the big one? I think it's the $1 million buy-in. Have you got any thoughts of heading over there?
They have a very big one. I think it's a 500K invitational in the Bahamas. For me personally, the Bahamas is kind of like the nut low place to travel to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the flights of, like the logistics are hard. The time zone is basically the direct opposite. And I'm gonna be very, very spoiled saying this, but it's actually just not my favorite place. I have been a couple of times before, so
it feels like the opposite. It feels like it would be a great place to go.
Yeah. So I'm currently. It's also right before Christmas. I'm currently leaning against against going, but the FOMO is real, so I would say I'm probably about 80% to not go.
I have an offer for you to maybe swing it the other way. I have a good friend of mine looking to get into that event, and if he can't get in, and once I tell you who the name is, I reckon I might be able to swing you to be able to get yourself over to the Bahamas. If you are looking to play with Michael Adamo, he's looking for a spot. He can't get one. So I mentioned him during the week. I might ask you to see if you're going, but
That's very good.
for some reason he can't get in. So if you or anyone you know is playing the event, reach out to Michael. Unsure why he can't get a spot.
I am sure. I mean, we're still quite some time away. I am sure. I'm quite confident that Michael will get a spot. Like, you know, there will be absolutely people that want to play with him.
It's open to you now, live on stream. We've got hundreds of people watching. I can't get myself out of it now.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. And then, so as I said, I'm currently more likely than likely to go. Yeah, but it's nice to know. It's nice to know that Michael's dance card is currently open.
Of course, I think we saw Jason Coombs the last one that you went with.
Yes, I have had the privilege. Interesting spot here. So Nelson's limped this from the small blind because, you know, this is the exact type of hand that does not want to raise and get shoved on. And Renji his hand can do whatever it likes. But as the chip lead, he decided to take a more aggressive blind pre-flop. And we've got Nelson with an open ender. Yeah, so Ricky has gone like fairly big size. I really like this with the combo. He's got Queen of Hearts working for him. He can turn a lot of stuff. It actually already puts Nelson's open ender in a bit of a tough spot.
Have you played a lot with Nelson previously?
Yesterday was actually the first time I played with Nelson, but he does seem like a very, very good player. So he actually busted me from this tournament.
I didn't know that, so I shouldn't have asked.
No, that's absolutely fine. It was a pretty standard spot, but I made a call on the river partly because although I didn't know him, so from the few hands I had seen.
Oh, that was the Jack 9 hand.
That's right.
Yes, that was on stream. Yeah. My apologies. I remember commentating through that hand. I was really fine. I thought you might have been able to get away here. You think Ricky finds a barrel here on this card?
Looks like he is going to keep going for it. And he will have a decent number of rivers that he is able to bluff on. And plus, like, what he's doing is he is putting massive pressure on even a 10 at this point in time, to be honest. Because he's saying, so Nelson really can't call, especially with the flush potentially working against him.
Of course.
So, Ricky playing very, very well. That's the chip.
Didn't mean to bring that one up, but as soon as you mentioned that hand, I did recall it here on stream. I thought there was potential for it looked like you were about to get away from it on the river after you chose that size, and Nelson found an all-in, but very, 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 very difficult to fold.
Yeah, also partly. Yeah, I mean, it's also partly because not just that I thought he was probably capable of bluff shoving in there, but also he actually should have worse for value as well, which kind of like tipped me towards calling. I thought he was someone who was likely, for example, not going to just flat call bottom two in a spot that he actually, I mean, two pair blind v blind is a very, very strong hand. So, as an also for him, if he had turned bottom two, for example, at 8-5, he should pretty much have every combination of that. So so that kind of tipped me to calling, and unfortunately, he had shoved a better hand and got on him for finding that play.
So if I did mention last night, but I know a lot of Nelson's friends and family will be tuning in to watch him if you are interested in, it's obviously something poker players struggle with quite a lot, combining fitness and poker. Nelson has a really, really cool Instagram account in which he remains really consistent, and he's able to, he posts a lot of his workouts and his study sessions, and you can check Nelson out at very apt name is just called Poker Meets Fitness on YouTube, on Poker Meets Fitness on Instagram, sorry. He's very active on Instagram. It's good to be able to see, you know, a player really being able to prioritise, you know, lifting and exercise as well as playing live and online and studying can become a bit of a grind after a certain amount of time. But give Nelson's Instagram a shout out there. I actually don't know Nelson personally, and even I follow it. I quite enjoy his content. So if you are interested in something like that, it's Poker Meets Fitness on Instagram. And obviously, as we can tell from the way he plays, he's able to get a lot of study in as well as a lot of lifting. So
Yeah, I think it's really great that there seems to have been, you know, a big pickup in health and wellness, and you know, a pretty big part of the poker community. So
it really has been a thing in the last, you know, 18 months, 2 years. A lot of players, something that they prioritise, which just makes sense,
yeah,
right?
and actually, you know, that has been a positive influence to me personally too. Just, you know, seeing, yeah, in particular poker players that I know. We are probably going to have a clash here. So let's see what Renzi decides to do here. With the stack distribution behind him and fairly short stacks in the blinds, he has come with... Oh, he has flatted. Very interesting.
This is actually interesting because, so yeah, a couple of days ago on stream, Dipper raised the cutoff with about 30. He was off about 30, and the button jammed 23 bigs, and Dipper found the fold with 10s. So, you know, we're looking at a fairly similar spot there too. Dipper, of course, likes to get his chips. He's raised first in, and posters. Surely a confrontation's going to occur here. So, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, on a 9-high board, there's not much else you can do with 10s. This is just going to be a pretty unfortunate spot for Dipper unless he can find the 2 outs. I think what Ricky is doing is that as the big chip lead on Dipper's type of stack, Ricky will actually want to have some lighter flats, and so he's also kind of protecting against the shoves from the blinds behind him. So he's still choosing to trap his jacks in position, and just, you know, I think there's just not much. Yeah, Dipper's a little bit unlucky in that he's kind of getting runouts where he is just ahead of so much stuff.
Of course, Joe Hasham did have the Queen 10 of clubs, so Dipper's going to have 1 out here. SBR is 1. Any way that this goes any other direction than all in, do we think?
I can't. You don't really want to shove for pot here because you don't want someone to hero fold 9, because Dipper's range is going to be pretty strong opening into the covering stack behind him. And Ricky also has a hand that needs a reasonable amount of protection. It's also pretty under-repped as the table chip lead. I'd imagine a small block here, and then Dipper probably doesn't have much choice other than ripping it.
Dipper definitely has his own style, as a lot of APT viewers would know, and a lot of guys and girls that have played against Dipper will know that we've seen him do some extraordinary stuff. We've seen him make pretty incredible plays.
Indeed, that is the magic of live poker, in that you are just playing against, you know, a range of people that will choose different lines, and just, yeah.
There's just no way, is there?
There's really not much you can do. I would imagine he is just going to get snapped off here pretty much after Ricky confirms. But yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of like you know, there will be some players that are extremely well GTO versed, and then other players that are really kind of like feeling things out and taking their own lines, and then
Total?
That's the total.
you as their opponent, you're just trying to work out other people are thinking about spots.
There's
And
Ricky
this is just an unfortunate
makes the
cooler.
call, and as you can see, we do have more than 3% equity, but the equity count and our cards do take into account the folded cards, and we're going to have one out once for Dipper, and that will be the end of one of APT's highest money earners, and he's been a huge feature of our stream throughout the year, and especially throughout the week, and absolutely nothing he could have done to have gotten away from that. Fairly unlucky to just get the 9 deuce 4-4 Sozia run out.
Yeah, extremely unlucky. Yeah, I mean he obviously he played that hand exactly.
He can always call there. He can still take risk win.
I think starting to get a fairly insurmountable chip lead is Ricky. There's a huge pile of chips over there to the left of the table. Do you have a lot of? I know you mentioned you have got a lot of history, but if you played against Ricky for some time, you expect him to really put the foot down here.
I mean, I actually haven't played directly with Ricky all of that much.
We have another volunteer.
Told you this double up is good for the table. I've never seen anyone call against someone that's all in openly, like out loud.
He thinks about the game at a very high level, and he will know. He will have a very good understanding of what he wants to do on this final table. And I think that BBB hand where he had the Queen Jack with Queen of Clubs really shows that he has very good understanding of final table dynamics and the amount of pressure that he can apply to particularly the middling stacks.
Five is all in.
I get a count.
Yeah, I like this open by Nelson, and he's not going to get shoved on very much holding the ace, but unfortunately Jordan has woken up with a better ace. And so Nelson is contemplating how well he is doing against that 11, 12 big blind shot. Wait, 13, sorry. My math is actually not great. I gotta be honest.
It's been a long week. What's the bottom do you think we're calling off here if we're Nelson against someone like Jordan Westmoreland?
I think ace 10 for sure. Yeah. So Jordan is going to be a bit tighter here with how short Ivan is, and doubling up for Jordan is not as good because he is still doubling up into a middling stack. So Jordan is also obviously an extremely experienced player, so he will for sure have a tighter shoving range, but he will have hands that Nelson is ahead of. So I would expect Jordan to be shoving the majority of his suited boardways, for example. So Nelson will just be working out, how often he is actually ahead versus obviously pairs that he is either flipping or has only 30% equity. And then hands like this where he actually also has 30% equity, but he wants to obviously avoid getting it in dominated because, Nelson has also been a little unfortunate to lose a few chips in the last few hands. Yeah, I think I really like this fold because he wants to preserve his stack that still has quite a bit of maneuverability. Because if he got in a flip and lost, he then switches positions with Jordan, and it just becomes tougher to play trying to outweight Ivan.
Love hearing your insights. If you are just joining in, got Sozia in the booth with us, and it's been great so far. And what about your experience with, surely got a bit of experience playing against Joe, Australia's first ever World Series of Poker main event winner. Have you played against Joe much in the last few years?
I really have not. I do remember this was quite a few years ago being in a Melbourne
raise,
cash
125.
game at the Crown with Joe. I think tournaments, we haven't spent like a lot of time at the same table together, but everyone knows Joe. knows Joe. And I had heard of Joe even before I sort of really started playing more tournament poker. Yeah, really, really a man that that needs no introductions, that everyone is familiar with, and it is always a special privilege to play with accomplished players of Joe's caliber.
He's just that name. For example, for myself, if I've got family and friends that don't know anything about poker and I tell them I commentate or play or whatever, the very, very first name is always Joe Hashim. Every single person knows who Joe is.
Absolutely, particularly in Australasia, right? So, yeah.
We forget how big that news was, when that happened. And a lot of people don't realise he did take down a WP 5-time in just 6 months after his World Series of Poker win, so pretty incredible 6 months.
That is incredible, yeah. And then the amount of effort that he has put in to grow the game since that time, I think every single poker player has quite a lot to thank him for.
Of course, Joe was very nearly in a group this year, which is nearly impossible to get into as a father-son duo bracelet event winner. Of course, his son Dan lost heads up in a bracelet event at the WSOP this year.
Is this the tag team?
Yeah, no. He, so the category being a father that has won a bracelet and then a son. So Daniel was lost heads up in the 1K Hold'em. It was the first ever Hold'em bomb pot bracelet event.
Oh my gosh!
And Dan
sounds like an incredible event.
And Dan came second in that. Of course, would have joined Todd and Doyle Brunson as father and son bracelet winners. And of course, a rarely known one was Owen O'Day and his father from Ireland both have bracelets. It was PLO bomb pot. So it was a no limit Hold'em PLO bomb pot rotation. So Hold'em, and every orbit was a PLO bomb pot. The first ever running of that WSOP event, and Dan Hashim I think $250,000 around for second made him feel a little bit better, but it would have been incredible to have a father-son bracelet winning duo, and Daniel nearly being able to pull that off.
Absolutely. I mean, what an amazing poker family. So I have no doubt that there will be
another chance,
opportunities further down the track for sure.
Ivan here operating with just 3 big blinds.
Yeah. So because this is they're now down to 6. This was a 6-man event.
You don't want him around?
Event. Ivan's just going to
Good for the game.
need to take some opportunities. So he now basically has no fold equity, which is tough. He's going to know that, and he's also going to know that, if he's forced to fold his hand under the gun, he is going to have to put 2 of his 3 blinds blind, essentially, in the next hand.
Look, I think he's got 2 more hands.
He's got 2 more,
I think he's +1 or...
Yeah. So...
Hijack?
Ivan is an extremely smart guy, so even though he won't have, never mind him, I think very few people have looked at what do I do with 3 blinds, like under the gun type of thing, but he will absolutely know that he needs to get it in wider than normal. Yeah.
Is this enough?
He's seen a suited hand and he has gone with it.
Patient is very important.
And I think he just needs to take his chances.
Only 3 big blinds.
I think here, sub 25 with ace-3, of course, ahead of this range, but I think we just got to bin this one.
I think you absolutely have to bin this one. You still have the overwhelming chip lead behind you, as well as the 2 blinds.
The only reason I do bring that up is Dan's a man who plays hands.
Good luck.
Of course, won our 9 game here this week for 16,000. Is known to have. Dan also had a 4-1 chip lead heads up for a bracelet this year as well, and managed to lose.
You don't always get to win. I think people always think about like these big chip leads, but you know, when it heads up,
9, 10, Jack, all clubs.
okay, so Ivan actually now has like
Alright.
a reasonable number of outs, although Joe's
It's a
also
10.
locking.
Only two of those outs have been folded,
3 all clubs.
and that's going to be the end of
Ivan
Ivan Zhang.
in
8
6
suited,
players.
good enough there for his last 3 big blinds. I reckon Joe might have mentioned to him that he was calling blind, and we dismiss that as we will lose Ivan Zhang in 6th place in our 5K Superstar Showdown final table. And Ivan will be taking home $18,000 for his efforts, and now we've got 5 remaining. How does that change things for, say, a stack like Jordan Westmoreland, who's probably operating with around 15, well now he's in the big blind, about 13 big blinds now.
Yeah, so 13 blinds, so there's a few things. So first of all, like, you know, now that you're this short, blinds come around very, very fast. So you've got to find the balance between certainly playing tighter than if you were just at the start of the tournament. However, you do need to try and take spots, especially at this point where you actually have quite a lot of fold equity for a rejam. Plus, because the payouts look pretty top heavy, you can't be too tight. So Jordan is, but Jordan's not the other considerations. Jordan is not the overwhelming short stack. I think the next stack is like not too far away.
Fairly flat payouts, so yeah, of course, next out is 23,000, and then it's 29, 41, 60, and 92. So
Yeah,
fairly
so
flat for the next couple.
Exactly. So 3rd to 2nd is a very big jump, and then 2nd to 1st. So yeah, so it's flat for now. Yeah, so it's kind of flatter for now, but also like, you know.
All right, players in the Hashem Annual Trophy. This is your 3-minute call for your final table. We will get underway very shortly.
So basically, Jordan
Hashem
certainly needs to be
Annual
like
Trophy.
somewhat conservative because
We'll be reporting
he doesn't really
September
want
7th.
to be whittled down to
Last day, Joe.
sub 10.
Your last day.
But at the same time, so I want to have a look at how much more chips Joe has over Jordan.
Try and get that for you, of course. Now, when we get those graphics up, of course, we are commentating this to the viewers off the delay, and it's all automated, so we'll be able to tell once they've played and folded their hands what their stack sizes are here. Renji operating, sorry, Ricky, as you've reliably informed us.
Not because of me.
We're big-
Both names are good. Both names are good. Yeah.
But this one, there's no need.
Joe Hashem, 2.6.
But everyone thought
Okay,
it was
so Jordan
I
is
know,
actually
that's the problem, right?
so Jordan
why I'm
is
annoyed.
significantly shorter.
You should just put the Tony Hashim thing, then
So
everyone knows it's him.
looks like Dan has about 1.5
There's enough Hashim
times
everywhere, like we don't need to have
Jordan.
more Hashim. Fucking hell.
So yeah, so
Excuse me,
Jordan
sorry.
is decently
So
shorter
annoying.
than the next person, which means that he gets.
Here's our full stack
Yeah.
distribution here, yeah.
So right now,
I mean, if I wanted
Dan
me,
and
I'd
Nelson,
happy
in
to do it
theory, should be playing
for free.
more
Okay,
conservative.
Yeah, but when it's your
They're
event and you put your name,
incentivized to
it's
try and
different.
outweigh
If someone else puts someone name,
Jordan in particular.
you understand?
And Jordan
Yeah.
will have the least ICM pressure.
Yeah.
He doesn't get to play loose, but
Good problem to have.
I hope I worry.
So
I'm
like
gonna
it's
worry about this.
You have that problem?
Yeah, when I'm alright.
2 million stacks.
50% of the chips in play with 5 left, so it's going to be pretty difficult.
It's a very comfy spot. I mean, we've seen all sorts of things happen.
Oh, of
in
course.
tournaments, but yeah, but he does have, you know, a huge chip lead. Plus he maneuvers it very well. So yeah, the rest of the table. So basically, like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th really want to kind of outlast each other. And then by the time you get heads up, it actually like, yeah, you know, you might be facing a very big chip lead, but it actually doesn't matter in some ways because you're just playing for your effective stack, right? And you just need to, there is no more ICM, you're just playing heads up for your effective stack. and then anything can happen.
We're just getting this one in here, Sozia. Thoughts?
I think so. I think Ace-10 suited is a really great hand.
Yeah, 22 effective.
Oh, hang on. This is blind versus blind.
Yes, 22
right.
effective.
Yeah. So yes. So with ICM in play, this is a beautiful hand. But with ICM in play, you really just want to take pots down pre-flop as much as you can. And given that Dan had actually raised, this is going to be a pretty nice pickup when Dan presumably decides to fold.
He will. He does like to just contemplate his decisions. Of course, Dan
Fair enough.
plays all of the games, and did mention during the week. I'm very sorry to all of our viewers because I know I've spoken about this at length, but Dan actually one of the best Microsoft Excel players in the world, and that is the thing, Sozia. He represents Australia in the Microsoft Excel games. It's a thing. They pack out stadiums and people go and watch it. It's
Wow, I wonder what it is.
the look on your face then was something to behold. That is very true, Dan. He does represent the country in the Microsoft Excel games. It's called the Financial Modelling World Cup or something like that. And
Interesting.
that is a thing. And of course, Dan takes that knowledge to his poker ability as Dan plays. I know Dan plays a big private game in which they have 56 games to choose from. It's a dealer's choice private, obviously big limit game, and there's some of the games in there, Sozia. It's like Stairway Badoogie, 9 to Heaven,
Wow.
Deuce to 7.
56. That is
crazy.
incredible. That is incredible.
And of course, did take down our knowing game here for 15,800 during the week, but yeah, one of
Alrighty, poker
Australia's
players,
best,
in the
if not
beast.
best user of
I've just had a look around the
Microsoft
room.
Excel.
The bounty is still in
Wait
play.
a minute.
The $500 on Shelley's head is still in
No,
play.
no. So
Okay,
just to be
no.
straight, so this will happen
Plenty of
sometimes.
time to get
Obviously,
into this
Nelson,
absolutely
of course, is standing.
Okay.
event.
Nelson's standing up with
It's a
no
beast of
cards.
an event.
Okay, Nelson is not
In this- in this
it's not in the hand with 4 deuce offsuit. That would make sense.
I just did see Nelson there taking a photo of his stack. I did mention if you are just joining us, you can catch him on Poker Meets Fitness. Posts all of his stack updates, hand updates, study sessions, workout sessions. I reckon he's on a bit of a cut here.
So Rinty has now turned a flush. I wonder if you
Alright, the
actually
Hashem
find a
annual
lead
trophy
here
is
in
about to get
Joe.
underway on its final table.
I really like this. So he's going to be perceived
bet,
as
150.
he has been very active and very aggressive at the table. And he is going to be perceived as, trying to bully the table essentially. And Joe is actually kind of in a pretty tough spot with his 8 of diamonds.
Do you find a lot of leads here?
So as the big stack in tournaments, there are certain flops and certain runouts that you actually do get to lead quite a lot on because the player out of position, much shorter than you, is often playing a more conservative strategy because there's not too many runouts that you're too happy to always get all in with. So the idea is that Joe would have checked behind an overwhelming number of times, even with a king. I would imagine that he's not betting much for betting worse than 2 pair here on the turn. So Ricky is leading, knowing that this turn gets checked back quite a lot, and now he's actually managing to make some extra chips.
Lead again here, Sozu. Are we thinking?
Yes, I think he is now really hoping that Joe has a pretty good king, and
A
is
king
going
queen
to-
with a queen of diamonds is going to be pretty hard to fold.
yeah, especially versus a chip lead who is being very aggressive. But yeah, as a go, I would
500?
imagine
Three bet
this is going to
500.
go bare fold. Yeah, so Ricky's coming in with
Just over half pot.
so not a massive size, but Bet sizes actually play bigger under ICN. So yeah, so what Ricky is doing is not that his flush is not worth more than half pot. What he's doing is he's actually targeting the King X in Joe's range and essentially making it a hard decision. If he went pot or over pot, then it's much easier to find a hero fold with just a king.
So a spot in which you would probably opt for quite a large size.
I think Ricky's size is pretty good. So like in the spot, half pot is actually already a decently big size.
10 seconds.
And Joe's range very much looks like King X, possibly something like Ace of Diamonds, Jack.
What do you think Joe's contemplating here? What are the thoughts running through his head? Obviously,
I would imagine.
seems inquisitive.
Ace of Diamonds can do some stuff, but I think Eight of Diamonds, you really don't have much choice.
We want our opponent to probably hold that card if we're going to start constructing some bluffs, do you think?
Yeah. So I think for Joe, he also has much better bluff catchers. So I would imagine, yeah. So what I would imagine is he's basically.
No, he slow rolled you then with a fold.
He's basically telling Ricky, hey, look, I have a real hand here, and you can't just like muck around.
Put in three. He's put in 3 time banks, has Joe Hashem, so we could be here for a little bit longer.
Like,
He's gonna put this
he has
in.
decided here.
Goodness me. Joe looks to the heavens. It isn't gonna help as Ricky, with well over 50% of the chips in play now, as Joe is now back to the pack. Is that something that we would also consider back to around where Nelson is after we decide to make a hero call like that? So as you talk us through that river decision.
So I think the reasoning is that, he's holding the Eight of Diamonds, which obviously blocks some flushes. He's also not holding the Ace of Diamonds, which is certainly a card that Ricky will want to bluff with. But I think the issue with heroing there is that if he is bluffing with the Ace of Diamonds, you are pretty much calling for a chop.
You'll be sick what I called you with too.
And potentially Ricky is value betting as thin as Ace of Diamonds, Jack himself.
The only hand that
although
you could have, by the way.
I would imagine that probably not, given Joe's hijack open and pretty heavy weight towards King X. So really felt like Ricky was kind of like targeting the king there. And yeah, I think
Ricky might be surprised he was looked up by something like that.
I totally get Joe's thought process, but I think the issue is that you're kind of calling for a chop, which, given the stack distribution, it doesn't work quite as well.
Ace high.
Oh,
It was very
is Ace of Diamond?
No.
I think too, is there any more reason to potentially
Diamond.
able to bin that, given how our stack distribution is compared to the other 4 stacks around us? Of course, we are back to the pack. Are we incentivized to have that little bit of buffer above Nelson, who's 3rd in chips?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you're now sort of under a fair bit more pressure. And the thing is, like, with stack distributions on final tables or even on bubbles or anywhere there's ICM, you actually just kind of need to let the big stacks bluff you a reasonable amount of the time. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but that's partly how the game works. However,
Piers Ricky is coming with 3-bet here, so to just interject.
300.
He does. Comes with 300.
So I'd be interested to see how Daniel proceeds. So what I was going to say is, I do admire middling stacks who kind of just go for it. They're kind of like, you know what, I'm here to win the tournament. And yeah, you're chip leader and you think you get to do whatever you like, but you know, you can have two strategies. Either you kind of outweight the short stacks and try and ladder up, or you know, some medium stacks will be kind of like, whatever. I'm here to try and win the tournament, and I am just going to like make the plays that I think are best.
What's Joe contemplating here? So as you help us out.
I don't think I can help you with that one. Unless there's an RFID error, I would imagine this is just.
We have had 2 or 3 RFID errors throughout the week, but it is if the table reader has picked up their previous hand.
Right.
And Ace 4 was not Joe's previous hand.
Oh my God!
He didn't know it was on him.
Like Joe didn't realize it was on him. Okay, that
Okay.
makes sense. That makes sense.
Apologies to Joe. We were trying to work out what was up there, and he thought he'd folded. It was one of those hands we'd folded in our head long ago that hadn't actually done
About
that.
going all in.
We've all done.
So I was like,
Yeah,
I checked out.
done
I was
that.
good. Sorry, guys.
As
Sorry.
Dan,
No, sorry. No.
with a wry smile
I got it
here,
checked out in my
to
head
probably
straight away.
pitch this one in. I've seen crazier things from Dan Mayo in the past, but
Still, just pick up my phone. Like,
That's why I was a little bit confused.
I'm
no,
glad you realised when I picked up my phone.
no. This is what Dan can do.
Yeah.
Certainly
I thought you were like,
weighs up.
Right.
is this,
I've done
is this the
that.
hand?
Nice looking hand that wants us to see it.
Sub 20 though here, Sazia. Thoughts? He plays all the games. He wants to see flops. That's how the man does it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly on the more unconventional side here from Dan, and we do see Dan come with many unconventional plays.
Correct, and you know, like he's obviously made that work for him. I mean, it's easier for us because we can see that spades are covered. But yeah, this is partly the problem with calling a 3-bet out of position versus the chip lead, because you know, like there are times that even when we flop a queen or a 10, we are not good.
Looks like he might have some devious intentions here. I'm not sure what they could be, but obviously not deep enough to keep that. Got the king of spades there working for some backdoor stuff, which we know is obviously dead.
Yeah. So Ricky has bet absolutely tiny, which
All right, ladies and gentlemen, in the room, I do have some great news.
Texture such as this
yeah, which
shows
is
you.
which is good.
Stephanie and Michael from Best Hand
I
Shiatsu
think Dan
Massage
doesn't actually
have
have
just
too many
walked through the
pocket
door.
pairs here because
You
the
are
pocket
tired,
pairs will
sore, or just
mostly
getting
show.
massage on
As
the
he
last
clicks
day.
it back and takes
Yes,
it.
so there we go.
We've seen why. Obviously, Dan calling there with some devious intentions, and a man that can play every variant of that the deck can provide. We're seeing why Dan nearly took out his first bracelet. Of course, has some really big scores in the last couple of years over there at the WSOP, and we might have just seen why. Not something you'd see there too often. So it's,
Yeah, I mean, so Dan is taking the strategy where he is like, you know, I am just going to do my best to chip up, and
Two
as
raise?
a chip lead, you know,
160.
Ricky will be pretty wide there. I'm actually kind of surprised Ricky folded as fast as he did, because I think partly because he's probably expecting Dan to be tighter. So he wasn't looking to call the raise with
Just like that,
over
you hit the lead.
backdoor spades. But yeah, well executed by Dan.
I was going to say, if you
of course,
were involved in
Dan
that
as well. I
fight.
mentioned his heads up loss for a bracelet. Also, second in the 5K just 2 weeks ago at the WPT.
Fantastic.
Second in the 5K to Melbourne's David Luong, and Matthew Wakeman third in that, as you would have seen Wakeman feature heavily on our coverage last night. And that was a stacked final table. Cooper Feltham, Romain, Yoon Kang, Sean Oy, Matthew Wakeman, and Dan coming out of that with $67,000. And we might have just seen how he's been able to get after it. Of course, that was the $1,500 limit horse event that he came second in only a couple of months ago. Of course, would have loved to have won that bracelet, but $129,000 USD is nice for second, and Dan really getting after it here in the 5K.
Yeah, I mean, he's just really good giving himself opportunities. Oh, Joe decides to flat jacks here.
Off his depth versus Ricky, what are your thoughts? I mean, just remember, we've gone up to 80K big blind now, so we're 40, 80, 80, and he's going to get the bad
he's got
news.
himself outflop. So I like a small three. I mean, so I think, if I'm honest, I think I like flat the least. And he could have jammed, or he could have small 3-bet. So the nice thing about small 3-bet is that if it goes all in behind you, you can actually still get away.
Could also induce Ricky to do some funky stuff, potentially, if he thinks Joe's got enough bluffs off that depth.
Sure, and with jacks, you're just gonna go with it if it folds around to Ricky and he jams on you. Your hand is just far too good to consider folding. Now he's kind of let Ricky essentially outflop him.
As Joe is left drawing dead, of course, Nelson folding Jack 3 in the big blind, so no way for Joe Hasham out of this pot.
Well, I would imagine that this just goes check, so Joe will still be here to battle it out. But yeah, these back-to-back hands just really shows the different... Oh, Joe, please check. Please check. Yeah,
Getting
I
snapped off by Ricky.
Joe, I think, is targeting a 9 because
he's not
Ricky,
happy.
Yeah, because Ricky didn't lead the turn.
Okay, nice hand.
Oh, no, nice hand. As Joe restrains himself there, and he's going to be lamenting that hand, do we think?
So we've seen quite different approaches between Dan and Joe to this final table, and specifically because of ICM. So Dan's kind of gone, look, your chip lead, you're going to be messing around quite a bit, and because I know you're wider, I'm actually going to try and make some plays, and very nice hand that worked out before for Dan. And I think Joe will be thinking similar things, but it was kind of like trapping Ricky.
So he picks up queens again here.
Yeah, I believe, and then unfortunately previously that didn't work out. But then he is immediately rewarded with pocket queens, so yeah, we'll see if he can pick up some chips here.
2 fold, 3 fold.
And Ricky, not good to see queens under the gun, and Ricky in the big blind snap folding. And
I mean, a win is a win in these situations.
Of course.
And blinds are worth quite a lot. So,
What are your movements from now until the rest of the year, poker-wise?
I actually do not currently have any more poker plans.
Okay.
Yeah, so default is to be back in Auckland through to the end of the year. But I've got Adama's number. And
He's looking. I might have got him too excited that it's. Is that a capped event? Is that capped at a certain amount of numbers? So are you aware?
How it works? No, I mean it's capped at the number of pairs. No, they've had pretty big turnouts before, so it's not capped per se. But I guess it's kind of capped by the number. Wow, did Joe just have? No, that must have been queens for the last time. I was like, did he just have queens back to back? But yeah. Yeah, so it's capped by the number of VIPs essentially. But I believe, because in August I was actually in Montenegro playing a cash game with the Triton guys, and there was a lot of talk of it being a very much superstar-laden invitational event. So I think at the time they were expecting the likes of Kevin Hart, Michael Jordan.
Ah, wow, okay.
Neymar, yeah. So
I see Neymar plays quite regularly.
Please, God, one
I think
time.
on certain circuits, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, you know,
What do I
with
need
all
to
of
be
these
here?
guys, it just depends
So
on
I can speak.
scheduling.
Give me
But,
an idea.
I did see a video of him at the WSOP walking in to register like a 5K with about 5 security guards around him, so no one spoke to him between the registration desk and the poker table.
Indeed, indeed. So, yeah, I mean, turnout will be amazing for, I think, all of the Bahamas events. And yes, as I said, FOMO is real. But yes, at this point in time,
I've offered you the best player in the world on the plate.
You have. I do appreciate that.
And I think in the last half an hour, I know I said it before, but you being a VIP and not a professional is quite unfair. Actually, I think, is Talal Shakurchi a VIP, classed as a VIP as well? That
yes.
seems very
Well,
unfair.
I mean, first of all, that is very, very kind of you to say so. But, you know, I would rate myself significantly below the vast majority of, you know, proper full-time professional players. But I guess the way poker works is also that, you know, these days there is just so many resources out there that when you have time, you're able to work on your game. Jordan has just decided to go with the 6-4. It is probably, wait, how many blinds are we talking here?
It's about 7. What are we looking with that small blind? Let me just work this one out. Could be 8, as we are getting a stack confirmation from our dealer, Catherine Young, who of course took out an event herself this week. Took out an event the same day. She took it. Her and her partner won an event on the same day.
Wow, that's quite a feat. So Daniel does have a decision here because the shove is like kind of small, but the problem with 7 high, as pretty as it looks, is that you are obviously going to be behind. And
We swap stacks basically with Jordan as well.
Again with Dan, he does not want to lose this. He probably doesn't.
This is Australian dollars.
10,000 here?
Yeah, 10,000 Australian dollars. 7 million Australian dollars.
Yeah, I would imagine that this should be a fold, but you know, Dan has proven me wrong several times on stream. So, I mean, he's gonna get it in good. So if he decides to call, it's actually, you know, it's gonna work out to be a good call pre-flop.
So he does let this one go.
I do like the fold. You know, we do actually just have 7 high. And, you know, whilst we often have 2 live cards, it's rare we're getting it in really great. Specifically versus 6-4 offsuit, we were. But, yeah, it's not very often.
Do you, obviously, being from or residing in Auckland, do you get to play, do you personally play online as much of it? We don't have that luxury from here, obviously.
Yeah, I don't.
You don't do that?
No, I don't.
Certainly sounds like you do the way you explain the game, but live poker more your thing.
Yeah, so I guess back to the previous topic, I've had the great fortune of, I guess, being able to spend time and talk poker with really great players, you know, including Michael Adamo. And, you know, the nice thing is that you do get to learn quite a lot. And yeah, and on the topic of VIPs, we do have extremely competent VIPs, and you know, there's nothing stopping anyone from working on their game and improving their play. So yeah.
Dan's going to send in the rest with Ace Jack and pick up a nice pot there as Ricky getting after it with the 10-8.
Very nice.
Okay, so no poker plans in the future for yourself, other than hopefully trying to swing over the fence to get you to the Bahamas. But it's great that you were able to get here for WPT and TLPT and partnership with the APT. How have you found these TLPT events generally? Say, example, the structures obviously put together by Didier. Seems to have been a lot of play over a fair amount of days for all of the events.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to be quite honest, I actually did not know all these pretty big events were running in Australia. That's partly why I haven't been here for a couple of years, and I just had no idea that, you know, things were as big as they were.
Three fault shows an 8.
Hijack ship, effectively. But,
Second one is
you know, for
almost an
me,
ace.
from New Zealand, everywhere is extremely far away, apart from Australia, so I definitely will be keeping a better eye out, or try to keep a better eye out. Yeah, I love coming here to play.
Very difficult to travel from this part of the world elsewhere to, you know, America. Obviously, the tax and the dollar not too good for us, and even going to Europe, field's very tough there. So it is difficult to travel from Australia and New Zealand. So it's good to have good competition and
Locally, for sure.
Locally.
Pocket queens for everyone.
this is going in.
Yeah. Pocket queens for everyone.
Jordan with just under 9 big blinds. Just going to put this in. You ever looking this up if we're Ricky?
So Ricky will definitely think about it.
690.
Jordan is the shortest, and he's just open shoved from the hijack. I think ace-9 is probably going to call because it's too much hand. Yeah, so Ricky has called.
Shows 7.
Can't fault him here.
Ace queen.
It's going to be head of.
Jordan's going to be shoving much worse than the queens here. And, you know, as ace-9 suited,
We will see a flop turn and river in this 1.6 million chip pot. Jordan Westmoreland will be propelled back to 20 big blinds if the queens hold, but that is just about one of the worst flops we could hope for. As it is pain on the turn, but the wrong one, and Jordan Westmoreland down to 2 outs once, and that is an unfortunate run out for great Jordan Westmoreland. Has featured on basically every stream we've had every day this week. He's had an incredible run this week. We've seen why. His play's been nothing but phenomenal. Unfortunately, there, Sozia, nothing else that could have been done.
Absolutely, a really great player.
And I'm not sure if the wedding plans are already booked in, but
he's picked up some nice contributions to the kitty.
I think it's well and truly paid for.
Yeah. Good on him.
Four-handed here now, Ricky, with all these chips. Talk to us about how Nelson, Joe, and Dan should be approaching this as Ricky. Just
3 fold.
We've got a heads-up hand at least.
That's good.
Right.
Looks like you must do 3 then.
Yeah, sorry, so just talk us through about how we approach this four-handed play if we're Joe, Nelson, and Dan with very even stacks. Ricky with this monstrous chip lead. What are we doing? How are we approaching a spot like this if we're the other 3 players?
Yeah, so I think
As we can see our distribution here.
Right. So the other stacks are like kind of similar-ish. I mean, like even for Nelson, he obviously would not want to double up Joe, the shorter stack. So the approach, I would imagine that most of the time people will be just trying to outlast each other. I get the feeling that Dan is not really just trying to outlast the other players. So yeah, so I think we are still going to get some pretty aggressive play.
Do we fault? I mean, obviously 3-2 suited, not the greatest hand in No Limit Hold'em, and with the way these stacks are distributed, are we nearly looking to raise something like 80% of hands in a spot like this if we're Ricky, or is something like 3-2 suited just not doesn't perform well enough? What percentage of hands are we really going to go after the way these stacks are evened out?
Yeah, so as big of a chip lead as Ricky has, as the chip leader, you still can't get in there with complete garbage because losing chips is still bad for you.
Of course.
Right? Yeah, so like with something like 3 deuce, you know, you essentially unblock everything that will shove on you. So you'd much rather have high card, low card, or like, you know, 2 middling cards or something like that. And 3 deuce is just like
10 seconds.
too junky. Like high card value goes up quite a lot because you will just get shoved on significantly less often. Yeah, so we see from Dan here, like he's just getting after it, which, you know, again, I do really admire because he just wants to put himself like in a good position.
I mean, he's going to be taking this one down.
And I think he understands that, you know, Nelson will obviously find a fair number of shows versus him, but Nelson will also not be shoving too light because, again, Nelson will actually be crippled if he doubles up any of these other stacks. So I think sometimes we'll see people, for want of a better phrase, play more cooperatively, as in like, you know, they understand they're not trying to bust each other.
Nice birthday present.
But Dan's not really interested in cooperating with everyone, which, you know, I actually think it's quite cool.
And hard to argue against. Of course, now he is on this 5K FT and did come second in the WPT 5K on one of the most stacked final tables ever. So who are we to argue at this point? Looks like he's enjoying himself out there as well.
Yeah, he's just, you know, he's actually finding spots to try and chip up at, you know, everyone else's expense, including the chip leaders. So he's playing to win.
Now, so yeah, we have been so lucky to have you in for the last hour and a little bit, but I think that your time is far too valuable to be, as we, hold on, Daniel here with a 10.90. We might get you to take us through this one and should be over fairly shortly. You would have thought, as Nelson will be just about getting this in 100% of the time.
Yeah, very, very easy jam here for Nelson.
10 seconds.
He may actually opt to small 3-bet. Yeah. So this is very, very good. So
Oh my goodness me, this is...
So the reason, so this is actually fantastic. So rather than just jam, so what Nelson has done is exactly this. So because Ricky is the big chip lead behind him, if it goes all in, he can fold his hand. And I would imagine he has to call off here. Yeah, the snap call.
Such an unfortunate cooler going in the way again of Ricky Mao, and Nelson's going to be looking for a queen or some clubs to stay alive, and if he manages to find a way here, Nelson will really put himself in contention as it is a 2-club board with some chop outs. Nelson will not be hoping for a better flop than this, as we have even more chop outs. Nelson will at the very least be staying alive 40% of the time.
20 outs.
And that is one of them, as Nelson will stay alive, and the followers of Poker Meets Fitness will be really happy to see that hand, as I think that might be a really good hand for us to finish on. Sozia, you have been so incredible and generous with your time. I'm so happy that the viewers have been able to get your insight, and hopefully maybe if you come back to Australia next year and in a similar situation, we can get you back in. Your commentary and value has been incredible. And don't forget, if you do get the itch over the next couple of months, the Bahamas is there, and you do have Michael Adamo's number, so maybe we will see you over there. But Sozia, thank you so much for joining us. It's been incredible. I wish we could do it all day, but thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure hanging out. Thank you so much.
3 fold. 2 fold.
That's close.
3 fold.
As I'm joined back in the booth by Harvey, the two voices you've heard for a majority of the week, and you got pretty big shoes to fill because that was some of the best hour of poker commentary we'll ever have in Australia. Basically, incredible insights from Sozia, and we can see why she is the, I guess we could say, unofficial New Zealand all-time money earner. Incredibly smart woman, of course, has done so well outside of poker and has applied that acumen to No Limit Hold'em, and that was amazing.
Yep, I'm on a no-win here. Coming in after that.
1.3.
But change the pace a little bit, I suppose. And as this one is in a really, really interesting situation. Been obviously sitting and listening to you guys, and as you say, great insight, and amazing to hear even where our poker players come from, how they get into it, and what a diverse community of players we are.
Stan's just going to opt for jam. I'm in a no-win situation here. I'm usually the one that tries to give the players a little bit of insight, but Sozia on an absolute other level, so I'm just going to do my best as well and see how we go for the rest of the day, as we're going to bring you the culmination of this event, and it looks like the way things are going out there, the culmination of the main event as well, unless you've got any other news for me.
No, you know, this is just fantastic schedule for us today to be able to get to see the end of this one. We spent the whole day on it yesterday and saw some incredible poker, and you know, and the best players going around. The ones who got eliminated rolled straight into the main, and I can tell you what we've got outside in the main, the remaining. Once this one's done and we flick the players over onto this, you're going to get another great day of poker. A lot to go here, though. Sort of gets the feeling that there's three blokes hanging on for dear life, hoping to jump up the money.
Yeah,
and the guy in front is miles out there.
And Joe has picked up some premiums, but I think he's going to want his time over again on multiple occasions. But he does have ace-king here, and we'll see what plays out.
Three calls. Three check. Four bet. 90.
So, some valuable chips there going to Joe, just as they all jostle down the bottom of this totem pole. Renji, massive number of chips, 62% of the chips in play there. And yeah, you're right, there's always going to be a bit of lamenting. Joe will be lamenting a couple of hands there for sure. At the end of the day, though, he's still sitting here with 4 left, and all those others that have departed are no chance of winning it, so he's still in there.
I think, yeah, Joe, yeah, I mean, I won't spend too much time on it, but Joe's couple of large errors that have caused him to lose a lot of real money equity at this final table, as he has been able to build that stack up back to 1.5 million, but Joe was nearing in on 3 million, and a couple of hands there he would have liked to have back and took that in his stride. just tapped the table to Ricky. He said, nice hand, and moved on as he's just above Nelson here. Nelson getting, probably we'll say lucky and unlucky, of course, being able to chop that flop, but flopping the flush draw. He would have much preferred the club, but he saw he's happy to stay alive.
2 folds? 3 folds?
So, yeah, as you were alluding to, got the main, which we're going to flip onto this broadcast table as soon as this one's done. 20 players came back today for the main, and there's so many players there that are featured on this broadcast right through the week, finishing it off.
I mean, Jordan Westmoreland again.
Yeah.
Every time I've turned the stream on, he's been in that seat 5 every single time bar one. It's pretty crazy. As Joe's definitely going to be seeing a flop here, given the way he's tried to attack this final table. Dan's just going to be attacking this board so often, not much Joe Hasham can do. Got some backdoors working, but doesn't feel like we're deep enough to really stuff around. So all those options being weighed up now by Joe. As he basically
450? Sorry, 450.
disagreed with everything I just said there. Decides to put in the 3-bet and hoping to pick up some equity on the turn, which would allow us to jam. I'm guessing that's what's going through Joe's head. And I mean, Dan has come with some fairly unconventional stuff throughout this FT, but this one will work. And a nice hand there by Joe Hasham. Takes himself to just under 1.9 million. I feel like those backdoor diamonds working and some straights and even some pair draws. Joe would have been looking to jam a lot of turns. I'm guessing that's what's going through his mind there. And as we change over shot clocks, and we could be on a break, Harvey.
Well, they've departed the table, so I'm going to assume that they are. I got 3 hands in before we get a little break, but it's only a quick one, and we'll be back here.
I think it's a 15-minute break.
15.
Yep.
And back again in 15. Take a breath, everyone. I'm sure that with that big stack and the 3 little stacks, this is going to get pretty dramatic in the next half hour or so. So we'll see you back shortly.
This is your 30-second call. Players in the 5K, this is your 30-second call.
Did you have that last game? What did you have that last game?
6-7 of diamonds.
4-2-4.
No, he's lying to you. You'll see it in about 10
Yeah,
minutes.
I know. Well, that's why I figure you would have liked it. You almost ripped it in on the free.
Andy.
Would have worked.
He would have won.
Pretty good.
Yeah, you go.
So welcome back. Little 15-minute break. Four-handed here on this 5K buy-in. TLPT Superstar Showdown. And there's the familiar face of Joe Hasham. The very, very good mixed player, Dan Nelson Dong, who we've seen a lot of, and we're straight into an all-in. We come back and we've got an all-in. It's Nelson with the ace-king. Favourite here against the Jack-3 suited. And the 3 hits, bang. Nelson in strife here. 6 is no help. He's going to need an ace or a king here to stay alive. Nelson Dong. It's a queen, and we lose Nelson Dong. First hand back after the break.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Good play. Thank you. Just ICM rip, right?
Yeah.
Shaking of hands. Congratulations all round.
You'll be big blind on your own, 1-1.
I've got one, thank you. Thanks, Steve.
You founded Hasham Management or your brother?
He had a chance to even settle in. First hand back, Harvey Silva been joined now by Craig Abernathy. Jinxie grabbing a quick bit of lunch after
very good at poker.
a fascinating couple of hours.
The
Associate.
middle one who was here.
Going to
he's
get a lot of
very
feedback on
Daniel.
that.
good. Yeah, Daniel was very, very good.
Yeah.
That's up with my friends in
And as I rejoined the coverage, I noticed, yeah, we have had a bit of action. Down to 3-handed, is it?
Yeah, 3-handed. We lost one straight away there.
Count, please.
Rich get richer.
We've got some of the biggest names, international
Doesn't
names,
seem
Joe
to be a
Hasham,
problem.
and that's Renji Mao, and Dan Mayo, one of Australia's best mixed game players from Melbourne as well. So, yeah, so looking forward to seeing how this unfolds. You see Dan going for the Jacks, and
1.530.
15 big blinds, he's put it in,
3 calls.
snapped
Aye,
forward by Renji, and
That's way too
King
way
9.
too
So we've
tough.
had all in, followed by another all in.
All right, we have an all in the call.
Came from
Final
behind
tackle of the 5K.
in the last hand.
Dan
knock
Pocket
out
Jacks up against King 9.
The Dong man. Now he's got the King 9 against the Jacks of Dan.
Flock is 7, ace,
so
8.
far so good for Dan. Needs to fade those
Turn.
3 kings up the top.
Is a 9.
Oh, and there's the 9. What's going to...
River.
Still needs a king or another 9.
Is
And
another
then he gets another
9.
9.
And we will lose Dan in 3rd place.
Wowee.
And the happiest bloke on the table's Joe Hasham. He just sat and watched 2 guys go bang, bang out. A big smile from Joe as he goes heads up, just sitting there on not much, on 19 big blinds. And he's...
All right, heads up with the legend.
Now he
Hey,
knows.
So exciting.
Okay, I'm got a lot of work ahead of me, obviously. Renji's got 85% of the chips, but Joe now into heads up, and that was pretty brutal, wasn't it, for Dan?
Absolutely. He's got to fade the king initially and then gets the running 9s. Oh my goodness, that's a very cruel way to bust.
Basically 2.
They would have fancied his chances there, particularly if he gets a double up back to 30 bigs. And you can see things can change in a moment
So
in
you want to do
poker.
even chop?
2 cards. Catherine's
Good idea.
don't even know his
He wants to do
there,
even
but,
chop, Ivan.
as you said,
He wants to do
reaction
even
from
chop.
Joe.
Let's have a listen.
He wants to do even chop, Ivan.
3 calls.
Keep chop.
4 check.
Big fair to say there's probably no deal made there with that chip difference.
No,
Might have
generally it wouldn't be a deal too much often anyway, particularly with that sort of chip lead.
I think Joe was joking about it all,
Yeah.
hoping that he might be able to do something there, but
It's good to see they're having a bit of fun at the table too. I always like players smiling. Joe's been the recipient or on the bad end of some beats this week, as we've seen on the feature table. So it's good to see him still in the tournament and have some success. So I mean,
well, even as recently as half hour ago here, Craig, just a couple of, I'm not going to say missteps. Who might have?
He doesn't stink, so it's
Joe
all right.
Ashram's play, but in his own mind, I'm sure he would
like
have
my
hoped
Uber
to have
driver
played a
this
couple of
morning.
hands a little bit differently, and
I
he was
swear,
up
I jumped in the car
with a
and
pretty
he was bombing.
decent chip stack, and
And it was
just found
mixed in.
himself down the bottom
beer was mixed in
again.
with the
But
air freshener in the car.
here we
You
go,
know,
little
the stupid.
maybe Steve Bradbury-esque. He's been able
So
to
you can
just
imagine,
sit there
right?
and watch a couple of opponents fall over while he was out of hands, and all of a sudden his head's up. So be an amazing comeback. Hang on to your hats. As you can see, it's 1.5 mil against 10.7 mil as we go to a flop here.
Renji takes the lead with that 7. So he'll fire a bet out this time and be up to Joe. Joe can't really call here. He's got nothing to hit except 310, so it'll be a pretty quick fold from Joe. But I do like to see players, showing that positivity and happy energy on the table. It is difficult sometimes. Poker is such an emotional game, and you do cop some brutal beats, but I do like to see that, Stephen Bradbury comeback style stuff. We saw it a couple of days ago. Obviously, Thomas Ward did one of the best spin-ups we've ever seen. And yeah, Joe's had a mixed week, and good to see him up on the podium in this one. One of the legends of Australian poker, of course, 2005. Main event world champion. He's got it up against it here, though. Renji Mao's tough opponent. And then you add the fact that he's got him 10-1 in chips, basically. Close enough. It's going to be not easy.
Craig, the week started, I suppose wasn't even the week. This is last Friday, so we're talking about 9 days ago with the State of Origin. Joe captaining the Victorian team. He finished up on the broadcast table in the captain's challenge round, and at the end of that he sent me a text and said, "Don't you ever put me on that broadcast table again." That was how bad he ran. So it is good to see him back on this table and heads up for a title. It's been a tough week, starting with that.
He's got a very nice starting hand here. Jack 10 suited, heads up. This goes with call, and plenty of good flops for Jack 10 suited. Let's see if you can find one. That is one. Top pair, and the heart's working as well. So he should be taking this pot down at this stage. And Renji's probably not going to put any more chips in the pot, though. I don't know. Hasn't given it up yet.
Go.
That's a go, though, yeah. Yeah, I saw Joe last night on the outer table before the final, and he had eights versus Liam Murray's ace-jack, and he held. It was a good hold, and then he won a big pot against Alex Linsky. So and I thought, oh, well, he doesn't go too bad off the feature table, so I was a bit worried when he joined the final table today and see what happens. But as you can see, poker turns around, and he's obviously got his good run of the green today and up in second place at least.
Yeah, well, he's pretty pleased that he was able to just vault up a couple of places there. Big increase in payouts from 4th to 3rd to 2nd without putting too fine a point on it.
Yeah, it gets called what we call laddering, and That sounds like a very good ladder effort.
Well, he was able to do it in the space of 2 hands, just sitting there having folded hands, and I suppose that's why I referred to it as Bradbury. He was just sitting there doing nothing out the back and
wait for everyone to fall
guys
over.
fell over. Well, he wasn't waiting; it just worked out that way.
Yep.
And here he is. And a reminder for everyone that heaps of poker going on here in the room. So many flights of the main event through the week, and we've finished up with 20 players today coming back for the main. And we're going to move the main event onto this feature table pretty much as soon as this one's finished. So don't go too far. Might even get lucky and be able to do it at a break. But if not, I think there's definitely some talk about just stopping the clock and moving one of the tables onto here so we can have continual poker broadcast right through to the end of this today, which will be great. And Craig, we're going to be spoilt once we do get the main on here, because so many big names have made that last group as we approach final table in that event.
Yeah, and it's been a theme all week, and for 9 days, I should say. Some of the biggest names in Australian poker have all come along to this series, and it's been great to see. I've really enjoyed commentating and watching them play. As we see Joe now, nice premium ace-jack suited here.
No, it's Renji with the ace-jack.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I wonder why he didn't. It was Renji being deceiving, just calling with the ace-jack, I should say, yes.
He's also got the flush draw.
Yeah,
really...
look at all those outs up the top, 18 of them. You don't often see that. None of them have been folded.
So that's why Joe's got straight draws and flush draws there. And he bets it, and it's enough to take it down. It's a pretty good fold from Renji, folding the ace-jack there.
Yeah, with no clubs working or anything, and no Broadway cards, I guess he knows he can't really improve too much, even though he did have the best hand. But Joe does a nice bet and takes that one down.
Yeah, they're going to keep playing this one hard. It's a bit different, you know, when you might be in a sort of a minor event where you've got such a big chip lead. You pretty much just put the pressure on and play, you know, virtually everything. We've already seen Renji fold a lot of hands since we've been heads up. Joe has been getting the best of the starting hands and some of the flops, as he did just then. This is another good starting hand. And heads up play, ace-7.
All in.
Renji, ace-2 goes all in. I'm sure Joe's going to call this. He is. So it's an ace-7. Joe, big chance here, but you know, in this situation too, I suppose, very big chance of a split pot, Craig.
Yes, well identified there, Harvey. The ace rags, as we call these.
All right, we have an all in and a call in the 5K.
You only see
Ace
Joe
2,
60 for 40
ace
favourite.
7. Joe has ace 7.
But
King, queen, queen.
Ace
So
7
Joe
is at
needs
risk.
some low cards and probably not the board
Flop
to
is
pair
a
for
4,
him.
8,
And the
4.
board does pair, so that really makes it very likely that we're going to have a chop here.
Yeah, and Renji's actually got the diamonds working, so if a diamond peels off, it's all
hang
over.
on, yeah, I didn't see that. Yeah, well, okay, he's got the diamond draw.
Board for a chop.
Joe
I'll take a
needs
chop right now.
Needs to avoid a diamond here.
River
Or hit a 7.
is a king.
It's a king.
We will have a chop.
So it is a chop.
All that for a chop.
He'll take that after that much fear of the diamond coming. He said he was happy with the chop and he gets it, so they battle on. About 5-1 now, chip lead, so
Oh
Joe
boy,
has
what a flop.
pulled back that deficit a little bit.
Nearly 2. He wants to do even chop. I said no.
I don't think he wanted an even chop, Joe, but anyway, he can dream.
Joe's
lucky escape
got that much
for you
experience in
there.
these heads up
After the flop, I thought I was dead.
situations,
But
so
after the flop, there's no way I'm going to survive this.
that's why they're so relaxed and having a laugh, and he realises there's a bit of an underdog here now, but with the stack, but and he'll say he'll be up for the challenge. They both make a pair on this board.
100.
Renji will bet, and I expect Joe just to peel one off here with the deuce. The 3 comes in, no help for really either player, although it does give Joe a wheel draw. He can win with the 5 now, so the 9 out, so goes check, check. But no, Renji has his pot locked up. I expect he won't go for any value, and he'll just show down his 4. But I've been wrong before. I'm prepared to be wrong again. I don't like sitting on the fence, if you've noticed, Harvey. I like to say...
well, you're wrong.
I'm wrong. I'd rather be wrong than
He does go
sitting
for
on
a
the
bit
fence.
of value, and Joe, unless he somehow believes his ace high is good enough.
He's only got that little deuce.
And the 2, of course, so...
Yeah, gets rid of it.
He gets rid of it. It's pretty busy out there, Craig. We've got... it was an interesting week.
Big meeting.
The Beast was in the schedule, out of the schedule, back in the schedule, and I'll tell you what, I think
always
they're
has
pretty
big
happy it's
meetings.
back in the schedule. There's a truckload of people out there playing the Beast.
Probably having coffee somewhere.
Yeah, I think the only worry was the NRL
Coffee
Grand
special.
Final, but a lot of people have travelled up from Melbourne and Western Australia and everywhere that aren't necessarily NRL fans, and that shows. You know, we've got a big turnout, and I've smashed that guarantee. And
Yep. That's probably the huge news is that they have smashed the guarantee, 40k guarantee on the Beast. And then just next to all the people on the Beast tables, we've got that Abyss going, which is the $150 buy-in event.
huge start stacking, that 100k.
Yep, and they've come from everywhere to play that one. There's a huge number of people out on the floor, and I think if you are local, and I gather the $150 buy-in is probably going to be more local players.
Fully dealt, of course,
Fully
for
dealt.
that price.
Yep.
It's amazing value.
But they are going to get the NRL Grand Final on the big screen in the room tonight as well, so they won't miss that. I think it's going to be a bit of a party tonight, Craig. I think it might get a bit raucous in here. If you're in the area, in the Brisbane CBD, come down to the Voco.
I imagine the home team that the Brisbane and Queensland folks will be cheering for will be the Melbourne Storm.
No question in the world that the Queenslanders would prefer the Stormies to win, and for us Melburnians, it's a no-brainer.
And they're up against the mighty Penrith Panthers, who have won 3 on the trot. They're getting a bit of a reputation like the New England Patriots in the NFL, where everyone starts to dislike a team that just goes on one of those runs, you know. So
Yes.
it'll be interesting for sure.
Probably looked like it was going to be those two fair way out. Both had great seasons. The Storm are just, it's just beyond how they stay up there every season. How a bloke can coach a team for that long and they don't get a bit jaded and a bit sick of him. And
great coaching. And
been able to reinvent that team. Well, not reinvent the team, be able to just keep that team up the top for so long.
See, Joe's picked up the Queens here.
Come on.
Joe not happy.
This game is
Nothing
rigged.
for Renji
Someone
there.
tapping you on the shoulder.
I got deuce X.
There's someone tapping you on the shoulder. Yeah.
Queens.
It's funny, we can see it. Queens versus, Jack 2 off, and then Kings versus 7-3 off, and then all of a sudden, like we saw the other day, pair versus pair. And then ace versus big ace versus ace, and it just goes in. So you never know with heads up when it's going to end. It's Joe wins. It could go for a while if he can double up again.
Well, that's obviously what he's looking for, and a double up would change things a lot. It'd be, starting to approach, 60-40 stack, and that's, it's a very different situation to where he is at the moment.
So Renzi's taken the lead here, prepared his 4 and got the flush draw working, so
Every big
nothing
one
for
has
Joe
this,
though, so he just
You have this, I have this, every big one.
shows his disappointment in his cards and pitches it to Jacob, one of our amazing dealers here. Been a long week for the dealers as well.
Yeah, done a great job. Normally, we just ship Taylor in when we need it to finish off. She somehow finds a way to deal coolers very regularly. So if this goes for too long, we might have a chat to our TDs about just bringing Taylor in and finish the whole thing off.
Maybe we should let you do some dealing, Harvey. Let's see you with how you the shuffling.
You're going to be seeing too many cards face up if I'm dealing and miss deals.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't know how they do it. So, I mean, that's what a lot of the feedback we've had on this series is they love every event is fully dealt.
Yeah.
You can just focus on your play and not having to worry about shuffling and turning cards over. And
no, absolutely. It's and all our dealers, and we might point out one or two, but they all do an incredible job here. It's long hours.
Don't tell me you have a juice this time.
The floor staff are here, you know, from early in the morning till early hours. They're all, you know, still keep that great attitude. Keep everyone happy, a lot of laughs. Even the announcements, they're done with a real up vibe. No one sounds tired, even though they probably all are. It's been a really, really great week here.
Joe's decided to turn his 8-5 into a bit of a bluff here and not getting through, obviously. Renzi's got the top pair. So we'll go to a river card. And unless Joe finds a size where Renzi's going to fold, Renzi will be taking this pot down.
Renzi checks.
Will Joe go for it? No, it gives up.
No deuce.
That pot goes to the way of Renzi. So back out to about 6-1 chip lead. And
yeah, if anything, he's increased.
Maybe it's 7-1 now. Yeah,
it's 89% of chips. Unlike some of the people around the place, you're not going to hear me or Craig give Joe advice on how to play. You want to be pretty keen if you're given the World Series of Poker main event champion, and that's not all he's won, of course. Advice on how he should be playing poker, but he's
he
managed to get here. He's managed to put himself in position. It's a really tough spot when you're just so short by comparison. And here we go. So we do finally have the all in, and Renzi is all over him. He's got the same suit, and he's got the higher card. The king against the queen.
Yeah, Queen Jack suited is a beautiful hand until your opponent turns over the same suit. Dominating hand. So
we have an all-in the call.
Fortunately for Joe, he's in behind here, but
yeah, it's not much for him here. He's probably going to need to hit a king or a queen or a jack.
He doesn't want the clubs.
Yeah, clubs is not going to help him, and there's probably not too many straights that are going to help him either. Nothing flop for him there.
Down to the 6 outs. He'd love to turn a 10 or a queen.
And he's got the club draw, but as we said, the clubs are not good for him.
River is the 7 of spades, and
it's a 7, and that is it. Congratulations to Renzi taking out the 5K TLPTs Superstar Showdown, and congrats Joe Hasham, our runner-up here.
Good playing with you, Joe.
Good game, mate.
And in the end, just too big a chip deficit to overcome, Craig.
Yeah, and that was always going to be a big task for Joe to win that one, with that deficit, but he gave it his best. Congratulations to Renzi Mao. He's very happy. It's very hard to win a tournament, and this one, the 5K Superstar Challenge, is a great notch on the belt. To come up now, so $92,000, I believe, it was first prize and the trophy. So, congratulations. I'll be setting up now for the final table photo.
So that's it for the 5K. Hang with us. You'll be able to see that, the final table photo, the trophy, And then, Craig, I'm pretty certain that we've got a break not too far in the main event. And if that's the case, the tournament directors will pick up a table from the main event and put it on here. So we may not be too far away from some more live poker. Don't go too far.
The base is green. I'm going to do my base purple, I think. You're going to do this purple.